Hey friends, I just finished up a video for the Insiders League that I made for the Becoming Dungeon Master um, book. And those are kind of secret videos. And what I mean by that is they're just for people that really want to go deep into this. But as I was covering this topic, I thought I really should cover this on the ReWild U channel as well. And probably do it in a slightly different way, maybe not go as plunging as super deep into it, but there's something super valuable for us here that I would like to share today, if you would like to explore it with me. If you want to, keep watching. And I'm going to shamelessly plug my Satorian Insiders League here. It's a Patreon page, and there are different tiers there where people, if they so desire, can go deep into subjects like this. So if you like this video, I'm going to, this one time, provide a link to the video that I did for the Satorian Insiders League, and I'll go a little bit deeper into this subject. You can explore it more. That link will be in the description. It's going to go to an unlisted video that is usually just for Insider League members. If you like it, check it out, consider joining. Okay, friends, so I'm going to share a little of my backstory, which most of you know about already, but it's going to be super brief here. But my whole life, probably since I was a teenager, I remember driving to school and trying to not have my radio playing and trying to just be without thoughts and focused on what was happening, the driving task. On the entire way to school, I would fail mostly, but I would try. And so there was this spiritual path that I've kind of been on for a long time. And that's taken me down all kinds of roads of exploration. And a big road that I traveled down a long time was kind of the non-dual pathways. And Zen in particular was really interesting to me. And I feel like I made, I'm going to call it, a lot of progress toward not being so immersed in my ego self through that pathway. I feel like for most people, exploring the non-dual traditions has a lot to offer, no matter what our background is. So there's not a lot of people, I would hesitate to say, explore Zen to some extent. And of course, there's other non-dual traditions out there that have slightly different takes, but all of them, in the end, hope to guide us toward no longer being immersed in that ego self. And there's a natural shifting of experience that happens the more we go into that, or the less we experience life from a real rigid ego standpoint. Hey, bud. But somewhere along the line, I had to switch paths, because although the non-dual traditions are just the thing for some people, it was too easy for me to intellectualize those teachings and to create very subtle versions of the little me ego that were getting more and more difficult to see, so that I was fooling myself a lot. And that's why eventually I moved to a bhakti approach, or a love-based approach to this exploration. And that transformed an important element of many of the non-dual teachings, which I'm going to call non-attachment. And I want to take that concept and switch it around here and play with it, because like any human concept, these are here for us to play with and find the way that they best work in our mentality And I'm going to suggest that the common approach to non-attachment seems like it makes progress, takes us on a route of spiritual progress, but actually doesn't. And I'll explain myself. So, as I conceptualized non-attachment, I pondered that. What does that mean? And I could recognize that I was in a deep, loving relationship with Rebecca and very much feared losing her. And at least I was far enough along to recognize that the fear of losing her to whatever it would be, to a car accident or whatever it is, was taking up mental resources that could be used to love her. And so I found myself questioning the relevance of that fear that I was feeling. Now, from a purely little me standpoint, that fear is really important. That fear clings to something, and in clinging to it, we imagine that we can preserve it. It's usually actually quite the opposite. In clinging to something, we often more easily lose it. But that's not the message that we get from the little me. The little me tells us, through its fear, that clinging is what is necessary. So we often cling really, really hard. And because I found myself clinging to some things, I thought, maybe what I need is some sort of non-attachment. Non-attachment seems to be some kind of wall that I put between myself and the thing that I fear losing. This could be fearing losing a person, fearing losing some capability of my body or my mind, fear of losing the good mood that I seem to be able to cultivate for, let's say, weeks on end. What if I collapse and lose that and fall into depression? Fear of losing the society that we live in that gives its comforts to us. Whatever it is that we fear losing, we think we need to detach ourselves a little bit. And many of the skills that I developed, martial arts skills and things that would look like prepping skills and wilderness survival skills, are kind of designed to help create that non-attachment, to create a wall, a safety net, any kind of a division between me and that thing that I fear losing. But then over time, I started to see that in trying to put any kind of a barrier, whatever it is, mental, physical, whatever, between me and this other thing, I was actually strengthening the little me. So I felt like I was making progress. Like, oh, good, I'm not needing this or this or this as much. I've built up more discipline and strength. But I was really just building up my sense of Kenton and how powerful I could be. And then, of course, life comes along and topples you down, because no matter how much power we build up, life can kick our butts. And there's all kinds of ways that it can do that. Through unhappiness or dissatisfaction, through a diagnosis of cancer, through a car accident, through not meeting our goals or our expectations, through others not thinking of us in the way that we want them to think of us. So here I was trying to make spiritual progress, and I was actually just building up the very root of spiritual non-progress, which is building up that sense of little me. And again, doing it in very subtle ways. Then it occurred to me, what if being non-attached means falling completely in love with something? Falling so deeply into love with something, or with life in general, that we start to experience what happens when we love from that place. And I'm not talking about the love we feel as an emotion, as the little me. I'm talking about love as something that could probably be better described as immersion. Diving into something so deeply that we lose our sense of self. And some examples I used in that other video are a brand new fruit that you've never experienced before, and you put that to your mouth and you bite into it, and you're just there in that experience. You're completely immersed in life, in this experience, in the actual stuff that's going on around you, instead of the way we might eat an apple and go, because we've all probably had an apple before, and be thinking, wow, I wonder what that's going to happen tomorrow, and all I'm hearing is my thought stream. So when I dive into something, I actually experience life. When I'm in a conversation with somebody, if I let myself go into that conversation, I'm there, I'm present for it. Not stuck in my mind trying to think of what I'm going to say next, or how I'm going to counter their argument, or whatever it's going to be. When I am out here filming a video with all of you, I could do that in a way that I'm thinking about, oh gosh, how long has this video been? How long have I been away from home? Is Liliana making too much noise as she walks around here and gathers the plants? I gave you away, little ninja. Or I can be present in this whole experience. I can be in my mentality, or I can be immersed in this experience. Actually talking with you, enjoying the presence of Liliana, experiencing all the beauty. And I'm going to say things like these flies buzzing around me and landing on me have their own beauty and sensation. When I'm not immersed in little me, in the way I think things should be, which is not having annoying flies tickling me by crawling all over me and buzzing around my head, then I can actually experience the tickle of the flies in the vision of them as they come by. Did you ever see what they actually look like? Here, they're just either a swift movement of black or a swift movement of light, depending on what they're going through. And because of the play of shadow and light here, they blink on and off. It's not a fly that I see. It's just a line, a streak that swirls through the air and blinks on and off in light. It's incredible. This is what happens when we fall in love with the world. It's why bhakti worked so well for me, this concept of love that goes beyond self. And I'm going to say for me, that's what non-attachment really is. Because when I fall in love with the world, I'm no longer putting walls there, then I'm immersed in the experiences so much that often my little me gets at least smaller, if not for moments. We've all had moments like this when our little me has disappeared and we've been right there in an experience. So when I fall in love, I become non-attached. And this time, instead of non-attached in a way that makes an effort and a wall and secretly builds up my little me, I become non-attached because the attacher, the little me, is not doing that attaching anymore. And now there can just be the experience of the world, the experience, thusness. So that, my friends, is my interpretation of what it means to be non-attached. And I would love to hear your ideas about it down in the comments. I know some of you have explored this same concept. Where has it led you in your explorations? And I use that word spiritual explorations, but take that however you will. By that I mean our explorations of developing a new relationship with experience, with reality. For me, love has made me more aware, has made me more engaged with the people around me, has made me less fear-based, and gives me a great sensation of life. And honestly, since I went into that shift, life has appeared very, very differently. I talk about this in Becoming Dungeon Master, that the world paradigm that we choose, I'm starting to wonder if that has a lot to do with what we're handed in life. So when I thought of life from that non-dual kind of perspective, life felt, I would say, more sterile and more clinical in a way. Coming from the bhakti perspective, life feels juicy. So, okay, one more time. Love you all. Cannot wait to see what you have to say in the comments.